ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत नः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामभित्र्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय नमस्ते रुद्रमण्यवभूतोतयिषवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुदते नमः या तयिषुः शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते धनुः शिवा शरव्या या तव तया नो रुद्रमृडय या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुभाषन्तमया गिरिशन्ताभिचाकशीः यामिषं गिरिशन्तहस्ते बिभर्षस्तवे कुरु माहि गुंसीः पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिशाच्छावदामसि यथा नः सर्वमिज्जगत यक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अध्यवोचदधिवक्ताः प्रथमो दैव्योऽभिषक् अहीगश्च सर्वान् जम्भयन् सर्वाश्च यातु धान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुणभूतबभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्रा अभितो दिक्षु श्रिताः सहस्रशो वैशागुं हेडयीमहे असौ यो भसर्पतिनीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उदैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतैनं विश्वाभूतानि सदृष्टो मृडयादिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीढुषे अथो ये अस्य सत्त्वानो हन्तेभ्यो कर्णमः प्रमुञ्च धन्वनस्त्वमुभयोरार्त्रियोर्जां याश्च देहस्तगिषभः पराता भगवो वप भवदत्यधनुस्त्वगुं सहस्राक्षशते शुधे निशीर्य शल्याणां मुखा शिवो नः सुमना भव विज्यन्धनुः कपर्दिनो विशल्यो बाणवागुम्बुत अनेषण्णस्येषव आभुरस्य निषङ्गथिः या ते हेतुर्मेढुष्टमहस्ते बभूवते धनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मय परिभुज नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधाय नातताय धृष्णवे उभाभ्यामुदते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेलिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अथो ययिषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रयम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकालाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः तये नमो नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यः पशूनां पतये नमो नमः सस्पिञ्जराय द्विषीमते पथीनां पतये नमो नमो बब्लुषाय विव्याधिने नानां पतये नमो नमो हरिकेशायोपवीतिने पुष्टानां पतये नमो नमो भवस्य हेत्यै जगतां पतये नमो नमो रुद्राय तथा विने क्षेत्राणां पतये नमो नमः सूताय हन्त्याय वनानां पतये नमो नमो लोहिताय स्थपतये वृक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो मन्त्रिणे वाणिजाय कक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो भवन्तये वारिवस्कृताय औषधीनां पतये नमो नमः उच्चैर्घोषाय कर्मारेभ्यश्च भो नमः पुल्यष्ठेभ्यो निषादेभ्यश्च भो नमः इषुकृभ्यो धन्वकृभ्यश्च भो नमो मृगयोभ्यश्वरिभ्यश्च भो नमः श्वभ्यश्वपरिभ्यश्च भो नमः नमो भवाय च रुद्राय च नमः शर्वाय च पशुपतये च नमो नीलग्रीवाय च शितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च व्यक्तकेशाय च नमः सहस्राक्षाय च शतधन्वने च नमो गिरिशाय च शिपिभिष्टाय च नमो मेढुष्टमाय च शुमते च नमो ह्रस्वाय च वामनाय च नमो बृहते च वर्षीयसे च नमो वृद्धाय च संवृद्धने च नमो अग्र्याय च प्रथमाय च नमः आशवेजाजिराय च नमः शीघ्रियाय च शेभ्याय च नमः ऊर्म्याय च वस्वल्याय च नमः श्रोतस्याय च द्वीप्याय च नमो ज्येष्ठाय च कनिष्ठाय च नमः पूर्वजाय च परजाय च नमो मध्यमाय च अपगल्भाय च नमो जगन्याय च बुद्धियाय च नमः सोऽभ्याय च प्रतिसर्याय च नमो याम्याय च क्षेम्याय च नमः उर्वर्याय च खल्याय च नमः श्लोक्याय च अवसान्याय च नमो मल्याय च कक्ष्याय च नमः श्रवाय च प्रतिश्रवाय च नमः आशुषेण चाशुरथाय च नमः शूराय चामविन्धते च नमः वर्मिणे च वरूथिने च नमो विल्मिने च कवचिने च नमः श्रुताय च श्रुतसेनाय च नमो दुभ्याय च हनन्याय च नमो धृष्टवे च प्रवृषाय च नमो दूताय च प्रहिताय च नमो निषङ्गिणे च सुधिमते च नमस्तीक्ष्णेषवे च युधिने च नमः स्वायुधाय च सुधन्वने च नमः श्रुत्याय च पथ्याय च नमः कायाय च हेव्याय च नमः सूर्याय च सरस्याय च नमो नाव्याय च वैशुन्द्राय च नमः कोप्याय च भट्याय च नमो वर्षाय च वर्षाय च नमो मेघ्याय च विद्युत्याय च नमः इंद्रियाय च रव्याय च नमो वाच्याय च रेष्म्याय च नमो वास्तव्याय च वास्तुवाय च नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमस्ताम्राय च अरुणाय च नमः शृङ्गाय च पशुपतये च नमः उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे वधाय च दूरे वधाय च नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्ताराय नमः शम्भवे च मयोभवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च नमस्तीर्थ्याय च कूल्याय च नमः पार्याय च आचार्याय च नमः प्रतरणाय चोत्तरणाय च नमः आचार्याय च लाद्याय च नमः षष्ट्याय च भेण्याय च नमः सिगत्याय च प्रवाह्याय च नमः हिरण्याय च प्रपथ्याय च नमः किकुंशिलाय च क्षयणाय च नमः कपर्दिने च पुधस्तये च नमो गोष्ठ्याय च गृह्याय च नमः स्तल्प्याय च गेह्याय च नमः काड्याय च गह्वरेष्ठाय च नमो हृदयाय च निभेष्प्याय च नमः पागुंसव्याय च रजस्याय च नमः शुष्याय च हरित्याय च नमो लोप्याय च लप्याय च नमः ऊर्म्याय च सोर्म्याय च नमः पर्ण्याय च पर्णशद्याय च नमो वपुरमाणाय चाभिघ्नते च नमः आखिदते च प्रक्षिदते च नमो वह्किरिकेभ्यो देवानागुंहृदकेभ्यो नमो विक्षीणकेभ्यो नमो विजिह्वकेभ्यो नमः आनिर्हतेभ्यो नमः आमीवकेभ्यः द्रापे अन्धसस्पदे दरिद्रं नीललोहिता येषां पुरुषाणामेषां पशूनां माभेर्मारोमो येषां किञ्चनामपते या ते रुद्रशिवा तनुः शिवा विश्वाः भेषजी शिवा रुद्रस्य भेषजी तया नो मृडजीवसे इमागुं रुद्राय तपसे कपर्दिने क्षयद्वेदाय प्रभरामहे पतिम् यथा निश्यपसद्विपदे चतुष्पदे विश्वपुष्टे ग्रामे अस्मिन्ननातुरम् मृडानो रुद्रोतनो मयस्कृधि क्षयद्वीराय तपसा विधेमते यश्चन्द्रयोश्च मनुरायते पिता तदश्यामतमरुद्रः प्रणीतौ मानो महान्तमुतमानो अर्भकं मानभुक्षन्तमुतमानभुक्षितम् मानोपधेः पितरं मोदमातरं प्रियामानस्तनुवो रुद्ररीषः मानस्तोके तनये मान आयुषि मानो गोषुमानो अश्वेषुरीरिषः वीराण्मानो रुद्रभावितो वधीरः विश्वतो नमसा विधेमते आरात्ते गोघ्नबुधपोरुषघ्ने क्षयद्वीराय सुर्नभस्मेते अस्तु रक्षा च नो अधि च देव ब्रोच्यथा च नः शर्म यच्छद्विवर्गाः स्तुहि श्रितं कर्तसदैवानं मृगण्ड भीममुपहत्तुमुग्रम् मृडाचरित्रे रुद्रस्तवानो अन्यन्ते अस्मन्निपपन्तु सेनाः परिणो रुद्रस्य हेतर्वृणक्तपरिद्वेषस्य दुर्मतिरघायोः अवस्थिरामघवद्धस्तरुष्पवीढस्थोकाय मृडय मीढुष्टमशिवतमशिवो नः सुमना भव रमे वृक्ष आयुध निधाय कृत्तिं वसान आचर पिनाकं बिभ्रदागैः विकिरित विलोहित नमस्ते अस्तु भगवः यास्ते सहस्रगुम्भेतयोऽन्यभस्मन्निपपन्तु ताः सहस्राणि सहस्रधा बाहुवो तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु तमुष्टु हि यस्विषुः सुधम्भायो विश्वस्य क्षयति भेषजस्य यक्ष्वामहेसौ मनसाय रुद्र नमोभिर्देवमसुरन्दुवस्य अयं मे हस्तो भगवान् अयं मे भगवत्तरः अयं मे विश्वभेषजो जगुं शिवाभिवर्षणः एते सहस्रवयुतं पाशा मृत्यो वर्त्याय हन्तवे तानि यज्ञस्य भागया सर्वानपयजामहे मृत्यवे स्वाहा मृत्यवे स्वाहा ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि प्राणानां ग्रन्थिरसि रुद्रो मामिषान्तकः तेनाम्नेनाप्यायस्व नमो रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः शञ्च मे मयश्च मे प्रियश्च मे नुकामश्च मे कामश्च मे सौमनसश्च मे भद्रश्च मे श्रेयश्च मे वश्यश्च मे यशश्च मे भगश्च मे द्रविणश्च मे गयोता च मे भक्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वश्च मे महश्च मे मे ज्ञात्रञ्च मे सोश्च मे प्रसोश्च मे शीरञ्च मे भगश्च मरुतञ्च मे मृतञ्च मे यक्ष्मञ्च मे नामयश्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्वञ्च मे नभित्रञ्च मे भगञ्च मे सुगञ्च मे शयनञ्च मे सूषा च मे सुदिनञ्च मे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः आभिर्गेर्भिर्यदतो नभो नमाप्यायय हरिवो वर्धमानः यदा स्तोत्रभ्यो बहि गोत्रार्जासि भूयिष्ठभाजो अधदधे स्याम ब्रह्म प्रावादिष्पदन्नो माहासीत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हृदाकाशे सदा भान्तं शान्तम् आनन्दरूपिणं ज्ञानभानुम् अहं वन्दे सद्गुरुं सत्यसायिनम् ॐ श्री भगवान् श्री सत्यसाई बाबाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सत्यस्वरूपाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सत्यधर्मपरायणाय नमः ॐ श्री साई वरदाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सत्पुरुषाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सत्यगुणात्मने नमः ॐ श्री साई साधुवर्धनाय नमः ॐ श्री साई साधुजनपोषणाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सर्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सर्वजनप्रियाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सर्वशक्तिमूर्तये नमः ॐ श्री साई सर्वेशाय नमः ॐ श्री साई सर्वसंगपरित्यागिने नमः ॐ श्री साई सर्वान्तर्यामिने नमः ॐ श्री साई महिमात्मने नमः ॐ श्री साई महेश्वरस्वरूपाय नमः ॐ श्री साई पर्तिग्रामोद्भवाय नमः ॐ श्री साई पर्तिक्षेत्रनिवासिने नमः ॐ श्री साई यशकाशशिरुनिवासिने नमः ॐ श्री साई जोडि आदिपल्लि सोमप्पाय नमः ॐ श्री साई भारद्वाज ऋषिगोत्राय नमः ॐ श्री साई भक्तवत्सलाय नमः ॐ श्री साई अपान्तरात्मने नमः ॐ श्री साई अवतारमूर्तये नमः ॐ श्री साई आपस्तम्भसूत्राय नमः ॐ श्री साई अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई रत्नाकर वंशोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सिद्धि साई अभेश शंकराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई शिरडी साई मूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्री साई द्वारकामायी वासिने नमः। ॐ श्री साई चित्रावती नटपुट्टवर्ति विहारिणे नमः। ॐ श्री साई शक्तिप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई शरणागतत्राणाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई आनन्दाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई आनन्दाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई आत्मत्राणपरायणाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई अनाथनाथाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई असहाय सहायाय नमः। ॐ साई लोकबान्धवाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई लोकरक्षापरायणाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई लोकनाथाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई दीनजनपोषणाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई मूर्तित्रयस्वरूपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई मुक्तिप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई कलुषविदूराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई करुणाकराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वकराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वभृद्वासिने नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वपुण्यफलप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वपापशयकराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वरोगनिवारिणे नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वबाधहराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई अनन्तनुदकर्त्रे नमः। ॐ श्री साई आदिपुरुषाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई आदिशक्तये नमः। ॐ श्री साई अपरूपशक्तिने नमः। ॐ श्री साई अव्यक्तरूपिणे नमः। ॐ श्री साई कामक्रोधध्वंसिने नमः। ॐ श्री साई कनकाम्बरधारिणे नमः। ॐ श्री साई अद्भुतचर्याय नमः। ॐ श्री साई बान्धवाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई प्रेमात्मने नमः। ॐ श्री साई प्रेममूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्री साई प्रेमप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई प्रियाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तप्रियाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तमन्दाराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तजनहृदयविहानाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तजनहृदयालयाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तपराधीनाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तिज्ञानप्रदीपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तिज्ञानप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सुज्ञानमार्गदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई ज्ञानस्वरूपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई गीता नमः। ॐ श्री साई ज्ञानसिद्धिदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सुन्दररूपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई पुण्यपुरुषाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई मदनाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई पुराणमाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई पुराणपुरुषाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई अतीताय नमः। ॐ श्री साई कालातीताय नमः। ओम श्री साई सिद्धिरूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सिद्ध संकल्पाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आरोग्यप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई अन्नवस्त्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई संसार दुःखक्षयकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वाभीष्टप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई कल्याणगुणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई कर्मध्वंसिने नमः। ओम श्री साई साधुमानसशोभिताय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वमतसम्मताय नमः। ओम श्री साई साधुमानसपरिशुद्धकाय नमः। ओम श्री साधकानुग्रहवटवृक्षप्रतिष्ठापकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सकलसंशयहराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सकलतत्त्वबोधकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई योगीश्वराय नमः। ओम श्री साई योगीन्द्रवन्दिताय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वमङ्गलकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वसिद्धिप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आपन्निवारिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई आत्तिहराय नमः। ओम श्री साई शान्तमूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई सुलभप्रसन्नाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भगवान् श्री सत्य साई बाबाय नमः। ओम साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्।
गणेश चरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं गणेश चरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
गणेश चरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
नित्य स्मरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
नित्य स्मरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं
नित्य स्मरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
शरणं साईनं गजाननं
सद्गुरु चरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
सद्गुरु चरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
सद्गुरु चरणं परम पावनं सत्य साईनं गजाननं
सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
भवभयहरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
भवभयहरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
गणेशचरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
गणेशचरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
नित्यस्मरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं सद्गुरुचरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं भवभयहरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं
भवभयहरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
भवभयहरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
भवभयहरणं परमपावनं सत्यसायिनं गजाननं गणेशचरणं परमपावनं
सत्यसायिनं गजाननं
गुरुदेवा
मनुवास गुरुदेवा
जुरी मनवास गुरुदेवा
मनुवास गुरुदेवा
परम कृपालु साई महदेवा
देवा
परम कृपालु साई महदेवा
परम कृपालं साई महादेवा
जुरे मनवास गुरुदेवा
जुगे मनवास गुरुदेवा
निस दिन ध्यान करूं मैं तेरा
इस दिन ज्ञान करूं मैं तेरा
निस दिन ध्यान करूं मैं तेरा
इस दिन ज्ञान करूं मैं तेरा
जन्म जन्म
हे अंधेरा
जन्म जन्म का मिटे अंधेरा
जन्म जन्म पाविते अंधेरा
परब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा
परब्रह्म परमेश्वर
देवा
परब्रह्मदेवा
परम कृपालु साई महदेवा
कृपालो
सद्गुरुदेवा
मनवास कृपालो साई महादेवा
जुरे मनवास गुरुदेवा
मनवास गुरुदेवा
निस दिन ध्यान करूं मैं तेरा
इस दिन ज्ञान करो मैं तेरा
जन्म जन्म का मिटे अंधेरा
जन्म जन्म पाविते अंधेरा
परब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा
ब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा देवा
परम कृपालु साई महादेवा
परम कृपालु साई महादेवा
परम कृपालु साई महादेवा
परम कृपालु साई
गुरुदेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा
प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां शरण नमोस्तुते साई मां शरण नमोस्तुते साई मां शरण नमोस्तुते साई मां शरण नमोस्तुते साई मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां जगदम्बे कृपा करी साई मां जगदम्बे कृपा करी साई कृपा करी साई मां जगदम्बे कृपा करी साई मां करुणामयी जननी साई मां करुणामयी जननी साई मां करुणामयी जननी करुणामयी जननी साई मां त्रिभुवन पालिनी साई मां त्रिभुवन पालिनी साई मां त्रिभुवन पालिनी साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां जगदम्बे कृपा करी साई मां जगदम्बे कृपा करी साई मां करुणामयी जननी साई मां करुणामयी जननी साई मां त्रिभुवन पालिनी साई मां त्रिभुवन पालिनी साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां चरण नमोस्तुते साई मां प्रेम स्वरूपिणी जननी मां बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय
बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय
बोलो बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो बोलो सब बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो 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 ओम नमः शिवाय।
झूठ जटा में गंगाधारी।
जोड़ जटा में गंगाधारी।
झूठ जटा में गंगाधारी।
जोड़ जटा में गंगाधारी।
त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजावे।
त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजावे।
त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजावे।
त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजावे।
डम 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 डमरू बजावे।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो
झूठ जटा में गंगाधारी।
झूठ जटा में गंगाधारी।
त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजावे।
त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजावे।
डम 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 डमरू बजावे।
डम 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 डमरू बजावे।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
जुटाओ नमः शिवाय।
नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय।
हरि ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय।
हरि ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय।
ओम नमः शिवाय।
हरि ओम नमः शिवाय।
हरि ओम नमः शिवाय।
साई ओम नमः
मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
ईश्वर प्रिय नंदना ईश्वर प्रिय नंदना साई जय जगवंदना
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 ईश्वर प्रिय नंदना रत्नाकर कुलभूषणा रत्नाकर कुलभूषणा राजीवनयना नारायणा राजीवनयना नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा साई नारायणा नारायणा हरे नारायण नारायणा साई नारायण ईश्वर प्रिय नंदना साई जय जगवंदना साई जय जगवंदना रत्नाकर कुलभूषणा राजीवनयना नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा साई नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा साई नारायणा नारायणा Hari Narayana
Narayana Hari Narayana
Narayana Hari Narayana
Narayana Hari Narayana
Narayana Sai Narayana
Narayana Sai Narayana
Narayana Sai Narayana Ishwaramba Priyanandana
Buddha Mahavir Yeshu Sai Buddha Mahavir Yeshu Sai Vahe Guru Bol Manwa Vahe Guru Bol Manwa Allah Yeshu Satguru Sai
Allah Yeshu Satguru Sai
Allah Yeshu Satguru Sai
Allah Yeshu Satguru Sai
Gita Veda Quran ho Sai Gita Veda Quran ho Sai तन में साई मन में साई रोम रोम में साई साई वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा बुद्ध महावीर येशु साई
महावीर येशु साई
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
अल्लाह येशु सतगुरु साई
अल्लाह येशु सतगुरु साई
गीता वेद कुरान हो साई
वेद कुरान
हो साई
मन में साई मन में साई रोम रोम में साई साई वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
वाहे गुरु बोल
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा
बुद्ध महावीर येशु साई सर्वत्र गोविंद नाम संकीर्तन गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा
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 गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा हरि 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 गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा
पुराण पुरुषा गोविंदा हरि पुण्य श्लोका 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 गोविंदा
भक्त वत्सल गोविंदा हरि भागवत प्रिय 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 गोविंदा
कृष्ण रामा गोविंदा हरि रामा कृष्ण गोविंदा
कृष्ण राम गोविंदा हरे राम कृष्ण गोविंदा
कृष्ण रामा गोविंदा हरि रामा कृष्ण गोविंदा
कृष्ण राम गोविंदा हरे राम कृष्ण गोविंदा
रामा रामा गोविंदा हरि साई रामा गोविंदा
राम राम गोविंदा हरे साई राम गोविंदा
रामा रामा गोविंदा हरि साई रामा गोविंदा
राम राम गोविंदा हरे साई राम गोविंदा
सर्वत्र गोविंद नाम संकीर्तन गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा
सर्वत्र गोविंद नाम संकीर्तन गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा
गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा
गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा
पुराण पुरुषा गोविंदा हरि पुण्य श्लोका गोविंदा
पुराण पुरुषा गोविंदा हरि पुण्य श्लोका गोविंदा
भक्त वत्सल गोविंदा हरि भागवत प्रिय गोविंदा
भक्त वत्सल गोविंदा हरि भागवत प्रिय गोविंदा
कृष्ण रामा गोविंदा हरि रामा कृष्ण गोविंदा
कृष्ण राम गोविंदा हरि राम कृष्ण गोविंदा
रामा रामा गोविंदा हरि साई रामा गोविंदा
राम राम गोविंदा हरि साई राम गोविंदा
रामा रामा गोविंदा हरि साई रामा गोविंदा
राम राम गोविंदा हरि साई राम गोविंदा
सर्वत्र
गोविंद नाम संकीर्तन गोविंदा हरि गोविंदा ओम शांति शांति शांति
Pranams to the lotus feet of Bhagwan. My dear fellow travelers to the lotus feet, welcome to the 310th Shri Sathya Sai IAS Study Circle. Today, we have with us a very unique person with a unique career, a famous musician, a sound engineer, a sound recordist, and of course, totally devoted to Swami and blessed by Swami. We have with us today Sri Kalai Mamani Sri Sai Shravanam. Born to staunch Swami devotees, Shri Ramani, our own Ramani sir, and Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Amma, he remained a child without a name for the first 4 years of his life, till Bhagwan Baba named him Shravanam. And what a perfect name Swami envisioned for him. Shravanam literally means to listen, and both in spiritual and worldly matters, listening is the first step in our progress. A self-taught child prodigy, a skilled musician and a sound engineer, a Balvikas alumnus, he has worked with all the big names of the music industry, or rather, they seek him out to record their music. He owns a state-of-the-art music studio, Resound India, a name given by Bhagwan, and he had the unique privilege of Bhagwan visiting his studio and consecrating it. He is the sound recordist for the Oscar-winning movie Life of Pi and a scoring engineer for the biographical film The Man Who Knew Infinity about mathematical genius Ramanujam. One of the top magazines for sound tech, Sound on Sound, had an exclusive feature on him, perhaps first for an Indian. He is perhaps the only sound engineer to be recognized by government of Tamil Nadu with a Kalai Mamani award. Further, he was awarded the Sangeet Natak Academy Bismillah Khan Award and also the Ugadi Puraskar. From the Life of Pi to the recent Enjoy Me song, Karnan movie, the Rivers of India song by Srimati Bombay Jayashri and Srimati Kaushiki Chakraborty, and the recent craze Arabic Kutu Padal, Sai Shravanam is the music recordist for all these songs. Without much ado, may I now request Sri Sai Shravanam to address us about his Sai journey and his music journey. Sairam, Mr. Sai Shravanam.
Om Shri Sairam. I offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of my most beloved mother, Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected brothers and sisters, revered elders, my pranams to every one of you here in this gathering. I came here with an invitation to speak about Bhagwan. And every time I get an invitation to speak about our beloved Bhagwan, I know that Swami wants me to think of him more. And this has been quite consecutive in the recent talks of mine. Every time I face moments where I need him more, there would be moments somebody would call and say, Sairam, can you please come and give a talk on Bhagwan? Long and short of it is, we always think that we are here as instruments to share our story with Bhagwan, or probably we are devotees who have had proximity with Bhagwan, family that has served Bhagwan, and we hold a very special place to talk the story of Bhagwan, but that's never the case. That's only the worldly view of how we see Bhagwan, his devotees, and his stories. It is for me, it is for my journey, it is for my understanding of Bhagwan that he puts me through experiences, he puts me through tests in life, he puts me through awards and accolades, and then he puts me through a turmoil of everything, and there comes this whirlpool in your life. And with the whirlpool, it slowly settles down. Swami wants you to go so deep down that you are least affected by either awards or accolades, trials or tribulations. good or bad, happiness or sadness. I'm very confident in saying this because I've been seeing this in my life in the very recent years. Such a beautiful bhajan session. I usually don't prepare for speech. I always take a paper, I write down something when bhajans happen, and as I was writing down, every single bhajan was talking of the points that I was actually writing. I just lent a pen, I started writing. I was just writing the word Prema Swarupini and the bhajan starts. I was writing the word Karunamayi, the bhajan starts. And then I stopped writing and I thought to myself, I should tell them the stories when I travel abroad. And then there is this Tanume Sai, Manume Sai, Rom Roma Me Sai. I wrote everything, it's in my pocket, and I decided I will not take it out and speak. Because every time, this has been something that I know Bhagwan chooses to speak through us. And all I have to do is probably be ready as an instrument, be empty so that he speaks through me. And today, I pray to Bhagwan that he speaks through me. When I heard the introduction, it was such a beautiful short profile of mine that was read. And when I look back into what did I do for all this, I feel a zero. I didn't do much. I just followed a path. And that path was music. And what is music? Music is not something that you go and learn. Music is something that has to be a gift from God. Just think of going to a school and you're a music teacher and you have 100 students. You ask them to sing in pitch. There'll be a cacophony of sound. Very few will probably sing in pitch. Not everybody can sing music in pitch. And then you know it's not in the control of the child. It has to be given. So once it was told to Swami, you've given the gift of talent. Swami said, no. Talent is not gift of God. Talent is God. Swami corrected that statement. And that's when you realize that many a times, I'm professionally educated in computer science. As you know, from conservative family backgrounds, they all want you to study something. You go through the rigorous process of schooling. You go through the process of undergraduation, post-graduation. But the core inside me was only into music. There are 3 M's that I feel is my life. It's the nerve center of my life. Music, my mother, and my master, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And my master, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, is the music, is my mother, and is my master. It's so beautiful. Swami has many a times told me, every time I used to go to Swami saying, Swami, I did this, I did that, Swami would say, Venda. Every time I had something nice on the newspaper, I would go give to Bhagwan. Swami would say, Oddu. Swami never wanted all that. I used to be very fascinated over something that I would achieve after I had started my studio, or probably when I was in school, I would have a medal, I would take it to Puttaparthi. Swami would not be very concerned about all that at all. He would just shoo it away. In fact, he just said I had recorded for the movie Life of Pi. There was this big news article, front page on Hindu, the very next day when the Oscars were announced, that said, from Chennai to LA, that was the heading. And that news article carried all about how I had prepared to record between Chennai and Los Angeles. And the moment it got printed, I rushed to Bhagwan because it was something that nobody had done at that point in time. I rushed to Bhagwan. At that point in time, that phase of my life, Bhagwan was very compassionate. He gave very close proximity for me. I could go speak to Bhagwan. I would sit with the bhajan group in Puttaparthi. So I was in the first row. Bhagwan came by. There was this newspaper. So I made it very nice and clear so that Swami would come and see. I had it in my hand. It said Chennai to LA with a very nice picture of mine and Life of Pi and all. It's a full, big article. And just think, I was about 20, about 29, 30 years old at that time, and then you have a front page about you, and then you know it's all Bhagwan's grace. You're also very excited, it's all music. I rush to Bhagwan and I show the paper. You know what Swami said? Ellam poi. I didn't understand anything. I couldn't relate to anything what Bhagwan said. And just think, a young boy rushing to Bhagwan to show a very nice piece of paper that speaks such nice things about me. And then I'm sitting in front of Bhagwan. And then Bhagwan says, Ellam poi, venda. And then, and you know, in Puttaparthi, when Swami says this in front of everyone looks at you very indifferently. It becomes all the more a problem. And I was in the Bhajan group sitting in the front. I was blank. I was not disturbed. I was empty. I was blank. Aarti happened. Swami didn't look at me. Swami didn't speak to me. Swami moved on. A very nice piece of paper. I didn't even fold it. I crumpled it and put it back into my pocket. I came back home pondering, enna tappachu? What went wrong? What was it? Why is it that Swami told such a thing? I could not come to consensus about it at all. I didn't have my lunch in the afternoon, and I went for darshan in the evening. Very quietly, I decided to take the third seat. I didn't go to the first row because I got my dose in the morning. I sat in the third row. Bhagwan came. He looked out for me, and then he used to tell, hey Madras. He used to call me Madras. Hey Madras. Then I looked, and then he asked me to come and play the tabla. I started playing the tabla. Bhagwan was very happy to a point that the tabla position was right under Swami's nose. In Puttaparthi, you know, in the Bhajan hall, Bhagwan used to come. The tabla used to be rubbing on Swami's footrest, that close. And Swami is constantly looking at me, constantly. I mean, his eyes was penetrating into me. See, we all think doing bhajans is being excited. In front of Bhagwan, Swami doesn't like movements. Swami doesn't like shaking your head. Swami doesn't like enjoying. Swami doesn't like you moving your body and playing. Swami used to give instructions that we should not move the mic. You should put the mic down, move it under so that the devotees behind doesn't get distracted. So I was sitting and Swami was looking at me, hawk-eyed. I was also looking at him. There came this very beautiful moment where I didn't know I was playing tabla. I just knew Bhagwan was there. I was playing, he was looking at me, and it was not looking at me for like a minute or two. It was looking at me for 4 or 5, 6 bhajans. And then Swami asked one of the senior tabla players there, one Mr. Sai sir, eppadi vasikaram? He asked. Sai sir used to really appreciate me playing and va vasi abdimar. Now Swami is asking acknowledgement from him. Avan eppadi vasikaram? Then I don't know what he told Swami. He got up, he knelt down, told something to Swami. And then Swami, after the bhajan, materialized a ring, called me, and he put a ring on my finger. He held my hand very tightly, and then he said, Kucho. When I went and sat, there was no ring in my hand. I was looking at Swami's lap if the ring was there in him with his hand. There was no ring in Swami's hand. But everybody clapped. So was it real? What was happening? What was happening in the morning? In the evening, Swami calls. One day went past. The second day in the morning, most of the boys used to go for college. So only the old students or some staff used to be for bhajan. So I was also there. Swami came very early. That day morning darshan was a, what would I say, a bonus darshan for everyone. Swami came very early. Swami had come into the bhajan hall, and then he was like, enna pandra, like that, you know, very lovingly. So Swami, when he speaks, is very, very nice tone. And sometimes he used to speak to me in Telugu, and sometimes I don't know Telugu. But when Swami speaks, I'll understand. That's the beauty of Swami's Telugu. When he speaks, you ought to understand. So, then Swami called me and he said, Swami ki romba sandosham. There was nobody to appreciate me at the time. The hall was empty. Swami had come very early. Then Swami said, paper enge. That paper was crumbled and it was kept in my room. I said, Swami, room la irukku. Kondu va. It was not even in a, it was so crumbled, I couldn't even bring it to Bhagwan. I said, Swami, room la irukku. Sometimes it's very nice that, you make it very diplomatic with Bhagwan. Swami said, poi kondu va. No, he's a master. I rushed to the room. Pata nalla suriti like a ball I had that paper. I tried to remove all the crease, flattened it out. I came rushing back. And Swami had already gone out for darshan. Bhajan hall in, Swami had already gone out. And Swami came in, and then because Swami had asked, they had asked me to go in the front. So I was sitting right outside the interview room. Swami came, and then I gave the piece of paper. Swami was like, hey, neeta vechuko. So what is it that you understand out of all this? Story doesn't end here. He took that piece of paper, he went to the portico. Swami was very proud. Na pillalu or something like that. I could hear him say, my boy, like that Swami was telling. And he was showing a few senior doctors, some VIP guests there. Swami was holding it like this, like an advertisement. He just kept it on him. And they were pushing his chair. Swami was showing it to all. And then Aarti happened. Bhagwan went. He took that paper and he went to Yajur Mandir. Today, when I look back, so many years have passed. Music and media is not an industry that one can easily be in. There's a lot of competition, there's a lot of things that we come to Sathya Sai organization for. To not have jealousy, to not have greed, to not have selfishness, to not run behind self-position, power. And the industry I'm in is full of that. I'm engulfed in that. Today when I look back, what happened when I took the paper? He punctured my ego. He just burst that balloon. I rushed with happiness, saying so. Honestly, inside my heart, my intention was, Swami studio vandirkare, Swami has come to my studio. This is and Swami, when he had come to the studio, he told me one word. Swami said, En pera kaapathu. Because Swami has never come to somebody's studio, opened it, valakethi vachu. I don't know how many such professional things Bhagwan has done, and he did it for my mother. As much as I know, I'm sure Swami would have done it only for my mother, not for my music or not for my journey. I'll come to that later. But I remember that Swami kept telling me, and Swami also said, Inge vela pannu. So there was a reason that I was very excited to go tell Swami, inda edathla neenga vanda edathla pannu. See, I can't see Swami as this avatar. I can only see Swami as my loving friend and mother, and I don't know, he's been so kind to me that he has allowed me that freedom to be with him. And then that paper was a puncture, full puncture. The balloon was burst in front of most important people. He did not want to acknowledge any achievement, because to Bhagwan, that is not achievement. That is not what you do in your life. There are much bigger truth that you have to seek. Profession is a passing phase in our life. What we do is for our bread and butter. But is it that is going to give us pride? Well, Swami taught it to me very, very early on. What happened next? Swami went with it, showed everyone. Swami said, he is my boy, he has achieved all this. What was that? To counter all the turmoil I had since morning, very subtly not acknowledging to me, but going to rest of them and telling, this boy has done something. It has taken me many years to understand it. It has not been very easy to understand it. Many times. And this has not been once, this has not been twice. This has been many a times. Yes, when they introduced me, I didn't have a name until I was 4. I was named Shravanam. Even today when I think of it, no one but the creator of the universe can name you or give you a destiny. I did not choose my path. Swami chose my path. And when he had come to the studio in the year 2007, on the 29th of January, first thing he came inside and he asked was, "Per ennadu?" He said, "Swami Shravanam." "Artham enna?" He said, "Swami kadala kekaradu." He said, studio, sound, music, ella kadala kekaradu." And then he looked at my mother and he said, "Ennamma per correcta vechirkena." So beautiful. So beautiful. He reveals that he knows everything much later than when you think you want him to reveal. He will make you undergo the churn. So, in my life, when music was something that I chose, when music was something that I wanted to do, Swami kept hammering me. Today's talk, I'm not going to talk about all the nice things about Bhagwan, because what instigated me is how much has Swami churned us, how much has Swami shook us in our lives that we have to find the truth rather than the truth being bestowed on us. And every time you have to seek truth, there is only one path of lot of churning. It doesn't come very easy. It really doesn't come very easy. As a young boy, my learning of music, tabla, everything I have to owe it to Sundaram Bhajan group, because I was put in Balvikas. I was always in Sundaram. I was always playing music there. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't learn tabla. I didn't learn music. I didn't learn sound. Everything is self-learnt. Only because bhajan kwase keno. You have to play for bhajans. So at a younger age, we all used to go happily play for bhajans in Balvikas, etc., etc. In 1990, there was this program in Purna Chandra where there was a Balvikas program and I had a chance to play tabla. That was the first time Bhagwan blessed me. Since then, ever since I saw Swami and he blessed me, I thought my life should be filled with music, and I was only dedicating my time to music. I would study, but I wouldn't say I was an excellent academician, but I would study well, I would pass well with decent marks, but music was my priority. Being in the Sundaram Bhajan group, you cannot go out and play tabla, your name can't come out, you cannot be outside, you do not have permission, because Bhajan group was very strict at that time. So it was all under Swami's direct instructions. There came a point where when I used to participate in college competitions, they would not allow me to sit with the bhajan groups. They would say, "Did you take permission? Will Swami like it if you showcase your talent outside?" That was the strictness with which we had. I had my upbringing in Sundaram Bhajan group. Years passed by. 2003, we had a very nice grand gala program of Sundaram Bhajan group in Whitefield. In that program, I played the tabla, I played the keyboard. I also decided that I wanted very good sound for Swami. I was always concerned about sound. Anybody sings, it has to sound well. Anybody plays keyboard, it has to sound well. Anybody plays tabla, it has to sound well. And we don't know what sound system was there in Whitefield at the time. So I decided I'll carry a big mixer like this, something similar to what they have here. I carried everything, tabla, keyboard. I went to Whitefield. Right when Swami was about to come, they said, "See, Shravanam," my bhajan group head told, "too many tablas around you, keyboard around you, big mixer. I think it should not be like a showcase of things in front of Bhagwan." So they put me in the last row. I was the most disappointed because I had done the whole music program. Again, I was very, very rubbed. I was feeling very lost. That morning, Bhagwan had come. Kerala youth was performing the program. Evening was our program. Swami came and blessed all of us. There's a very beautiful video of Swami blessing all of us. I went back to the room and I told my mother, "Amma, they've put me in the last row for evening program. How would Swami even look at me? I've prepared so much for Bhagwan." I still remember my mother said, "See, you have done something Swami knows. How does it matter if Swami has to look at you? எதுக்கு சுவாமி உன்னை பார்க்கணும்? நீ தான் பண்ணியிருக்கியான்னு தெரியுமே சுவாமிக்கு. So that's what she said. I could not, எனக்கு அந்த பக்குவம் இல்லை அப்போ. I could not understand. I said, என்னம்மா நீ வாசிச்சாதான் தெரியும். Only if you play and you prepare a program will you know. You know, you will never know it. My mother said, don't worry, Swami will take care. I went, the evening program happened. We all sat, I was in the 4th row. Bhagwan came from the stage, he saw our bhajan group and said, at that time, one of the senior devotees came and said, Swami wants all of you to go on stage. So what had happened, all of us rushed on the stage. As we rushed on the stage, I was the last person to go because I had too many tablas, too many things to carry. Everybody rushed and by then Bhagwan had come. There was only one place I could sit, which was the corner in the front. The whole stage was full. So I sat in a corner in the front with everything and the program went on. Swami was very happy. We had prepared for 45 minutes. They said you should not perform for any longer. So we had strictly prepared 45 minutes. As you know, Bhagwan, he puts surprises every time. You think of something, Swami will ask you to do something else. We finished the program. Bhagwan said, continue. We didn't have a single song more to perform. Everybody is looking at me. Instantly, I said, repeat the program. I said, just repeat. You know, you can't, because for me, quality was first. Because you're performing for God. Don't go and experiment in front of God. Rather sing it again because he liked something. Sing it again because he liked it. That's all. No other philosophy. So we started repeating the songs. As we started repeating the songs, Swami started enjoying, and midway to the program, Swami came. Swami had blessed me on stage. And that was a moment I had a very nice interaction with Bhagwan, and I told Swami, Swami, I want to take up music in my career. Swami, you should guide me. Swami said, illa padi, study. That was the least I expected from Bhagwan because I really wanted to be in music. Swami said, illa padi. Amma pa padike sonna padi. So I continued my studies. Music was going on. Years passed. 2005, Kodaikanal. Very, very beautiful setting in Kodaikanal. Very nice moments with Bhagwan. We were all in the bhajan group. At that time, sound was not my priority. I was only into music. 2005, I had received a call saying that Kodaikanal Swami had arrived. I didn't go to Kodaikanal at that time. I got a call from the bhajan group saying they want a new sound system in Kodaikanal. And it has to be fit the next day because Swami is already there and he is not happy with what's there. So we pulled out everything from Sundaram, rushed to Kodaikanal, fixed it overnight, and the same thing happened. We thought we did a very nice thing. Swami came, bhajans happened. Swami came to me and said, sound bagaledu. Sound is very bad. Myself and a couple of other brothers from the bhajan group, we were all there. We used to fix, you know, run around, fix the speakers, daily do something, somehow manage it so that the programs would go on. And then after a couple of days, Swami was very happy. That was the moment I started getting good proximity with Bhagwan because Swami would come from the residence, enter into the bhajan hall. There was this very small passage. That small passage was the best place one could be in because Swami will wait there. Only after Swami's command, the door opens and you go in. I was there in that passage and every day Swami would wait. Many of us, we do bhajans, right? When we do bhajans, we used to wonder, when Swami used to come, after Swami comes, everyone will be very bright and shining. Before that, it would be different. In Kodaikanal, what I experienced was very unique. I used to be in that small passage. Only the passage could have only Swami, person who would come with Bhagwan, and myself. We used to take turns too because we had to help Swami's chair come over the door. Swami would wait in that passage and listen to bhajans for 15 minutes and 20 minutes, giving comments on bhajan, saying this person is singing like that. That word is not correct. While just on the other side of the door, you won't believe, everybody will be singing, thinking Swami is not there. And Bhagwan is just behind the door, completely analyzing the bhajan and telling me, இப்போ எப்படி பாடுறா, how is he singing, what is he doing, tabla நல்லா இருக்கா. One Swami even commented the tabla shruti is very bad. Swami said tuning நல்லா இல்லை. Swami was a perfectionist. Swami slowly gave that kind of a proximity as Sevadals being in the Bhajan group. Things rolled on. 2007. There are two important people sitting here. The person who built my studio, Mr. Mohan, who is here, Dr. Ram Manohar Rao, who has played a very key role in the journey of my mother. 2007, studio was built. Swami had come. I had made a ramp. I still remember him telling, the place is very short for ramp. He would always come and tell me, Pannidla Shravan, Epdiya Pannidla. Because our thing was somehow to have a ramp. For my father, Bhagwan has to come. For me, for the musicians to move their instrument up into the studio. Long and short of the story is, studio was consecrated by Bhagwan. In Chennai, we had the opportunity to serve Bhagwan in the residence. Swami one day in the evening spotted me and he asked me, Veed enge? Where is your house? I said, Swami, house is in Adayar. And then at that time, Dr. Shri V. Srinivasan was there, the All India President. He had immediately summoned my father to come. My father had come. Swami looked at my father and he said, who is he? This is my father, I am here. Idi yaru? My father said, Swami, Bhajan group member. He didn't tell I am his son. I didn't know what to do. Swami looked at me and said, Idi yaru? I said, Swami, state president, Swami. And then again Swami looked at my father. He said, Ivar enna pandraru? My father said, Bhajan group, correcta Swami service la pannuvaru, Bhajan ku vararu. Enna paathitu, nee enna padikiran Swami ta sollu. I was like, what is, I could not relate to the whole moment. And then Swami looked at me and I told Swami. And then Swami said, enna panna? I said, Swami, ipada studio pannirken, music pannirken. And then Professor Giri was there. He looked at Professor Giri and he said, idu father, idu son, rendu per duty la irukanga, so no father son. Abdintu Swami laughed. We just kept quiet. Swami looked at us very lovingly, Swami, and Swami said, Veetukku po na varen. Swami came home. Swami went through the beautiful ramp, came up. As he entered the balcony, he asked me, ramp edukku? As he entered the door, he asked me, ramp edukku? I said, Swami, musicians la varano. All the musicians have to come, older people come, we have to carry instruments. Swami said, I promised your mother 20 years back that I will come home. And I have come here and the ramp is for me because I can't walk. My mother was swelled in tears at that time. As Swami was getting down, my mother was singing bhajans. We had a small lamp. We didn't expect, how would it be when Swami comes to your house? Swami quickly came into the studio. He saw everything. He was very happy. He asked me about the speakers. Swami asked me, do you fight with your sisters? I said, Swami, no. And then Swami said, he looked at my mother, enna ma, sisters oda aasaya irupana? I said, my mother said, Ama Swami, they are all very loving. Then Swami said, only if you have that unity in family, will you get all these? Because those two speakers were gifted by my sisters. They were in the US at that time. So Swami very subtly starts to communicate that he knows everything and he is the doer. He came in, we had prepared a lot of students had come. It was a very small place. It could not hold that many guests and students. So they were coming in batches. Swami said, hey, idu namma veedu, guests la venda, illa wait pantonu. Swami made everybody wait outside in the ramp and in the balcony and took us into the room. He said, Swami, avangalukku saapada, venda, edu venda, idu namma veedu. Swami kept telling that. We went into the room. Bhagwan, none of us spoke anything. Swami was just quietly looking at us. My mother had prepared something for Bhagwan, which is her favorite dish. And then Swami looked at that and Swami said, Ennamma unakku romba pidikum Swami saapadren. And Swami took that. We had other things too, but Swami took that. Swift from then on was our journey with Bhagwan. We knew who Bhagwan was. He just looked at me. He said, Epo Kalyano. I was least prepared for that. I just kept quiet with Bhagwan, don't reply anything, just quietly stay. Epo Kalyano. Then my mother said, Swami, ninga parango. And then Swami saw my mother and Swami said, Amma, nariya family ku panniyachu. You have done a lot for your family. Go and rest. Rest. My mother said, Swami, I am resting. You have come. Wherein Swami said, no, ma, you rest. Let your daughter-in-law come and she will feed you food. Swami said, Nalla saapadu ooti uduvanga. That was the exact words. Saapadu ooti uduvanga. It was a very celebratory moment. Swami was there with us and Swami was going to leave. Other conversation happened, but I'm bypassing all those. Bhagwan was leaving. He looked at my father and he said, Ramani edum pesala. Enna venu sollu. My father didn't say anything. Swami said, Swami, neenga irkel podum. Swami said, I've come to your house, ask me something. I will give you. Exact words. My father kept quiet. He didn't ask nor did he reply. Again, Swami said, he looked at my mother, Sonar, Ennamma, Swami kekare, enna venumo Ramani ki tare, keka sollu. My father didn't open his mouth. Very quiet. It was total silence at that moment. And then Swami was very quiet. Swami was sitting for a while. I was near him. None of us spoke. Swami was keenly looking into us. Again he asked my father, Aarthi ki late ardu yagyathla, sollu enna veno? And my father said, Swami, enga appa came to you, which is my tata, his father came to you. I am now with Bhagwan. My son is now your devotee. Grandchildren is born. All of them are Bhagwan's devotee. 3 generation aayirthu Swami. Will you be our Kula Deivam? Swami ketar. Sathya Sai Baba Kula Deivamma irkela appdin ketar. Swami's eyes welled with tears. I still remember that moment and we have a picture of that. Swami was so happy. He opened both his hands and he told to my father, Inimelendu unga Kula Deivam Shri Sathya Sai. That was his word. And Swami told it 3 times. Kula Deivam Shri Sathya Sai. Kula Deivam Shri Sathya Sai. Kula Deivam Shri Sathya Sai. Swami told it 3 times and Swami said, family and namaskar. So ever since that time, enga veet all the functions we just put Shri Sathya Sai, Kula Deivam Sathya Sai. You know, although the traditional things are there, I thought to myself, what more can my father give to our family but to leave Swami as our family deity? Number one, we all tell Swami as Guru, we tell Swami as Sadguru. Swami once clearly told me, Swami said, I am not a Guru, I am not Sadguru. Swami said, Guru is Gunatitaya, Rupa Varjitaya, Guru. Swami said, I see it all. Swami said, I am the master of the universe. This is the word Bhagwan told me personally. I am the master of the universe. That's when you realize Swami's love is very compassionate. Swami came home, he spent time with us. We were all in celebration. They said, Kalyana Anu. I was engaged. And Swami also said one thing, Annapurna nalla saapadu utva. Swami also said Annapurna. So we thought Annapurna means goddess of food, you know. So we thought Swami was telling like that. I got married and only when that Jadagam came, we realized my wife's name was Savita alias Annapurna. Her name was Annapurna. So Bhagwan already knew. At that time we didn't know. Later on we came to know her name was Annapurna. My engagement happened and one day my mother was just, she was in the garden, she was watering the plants, she came in. She smiled at me, and it was a very, very different smile from my mother. There was no hint of any ailment in her. She looked at me and smiled very indifferently. I told her, Amma, what happened? Why are you smiling like this? My mother said, Teriliye, that's all. It was just hours. She was just deteriorating like this. It was just a few hours, and then she was slurring in her speech. It was then Dr. Ramanohar Rao. He was there. He came. He saw. We went for a scan. The scan apparently was not convincing. Nice doctors. They never told me anything. They kept me very comfortable. Later on, we came to know it was a big tumor in the brain. Then we thought it would be tuberculosis. And this was all when? December. What happened prior to December was, just before Christmas, I was in Puttaparthi, I was playing tabla in front of Bhagwan. Swami very lovingly saw me, and I had written a chit to Swami saying, Swami, will you give us a family interview? That's all, one-liner letter to Bhagwan. Swami took that letter, and Swami saw it, and he nodded his head, and after the Aarti, Swami told me, New Year, Amma voda car lava. It's very clear instructions. Come in the car with Amma on New Year. I didn't have a mobile. After the darshan, rushed to the PCO outside Ganesh gate, called my mother and said, Amma, be ready, we have to come for New Year. She said, okay. And within that gap, just between Christmas and New Year, all of this happened. And it was just the day prior to New Year. The scans happened, something was not right. Amma said, without Bhagwan's permission, I don't want a single injection inside me or a treatment. She said, Appa, please ask Swami. We all decided to take my mother to Puttaparthi. It was on the New Year day. My mother was flown into Bangalore in an ambulift. From Bangalore, I had driven to the airport, picked up my mother. I was driving very fast because we wanted to reach by evening. Reached Puttaparthi. My mother by then was slightly disoriented and not cohesive. But she was in a wheelchair, she was made to sit. Bhagwan came, and the whole discourse that evening on New Year's evening was about life and death. Swami said, it's a part of life, you have to accept whatever comes. Human bodies, we all give it so much importance, don't give importance. My heart is pounding, and Swami's discourse is all about this. Everything happened. I tried to give a letter. I went in the front. Swami didn't see the letter. As I gave the letter, Swami started looking up, telling people that the decorations are very nice. Swami has this very nice way to, give you attention when needed and not give you attention despite you being so close to him. I was under Bhagwan's nose, and I was kneeling down. They knew my mother was sick, so I was asked to sit right next to Swami's car when the chair goes. They said, give the letter. Because we knew mother was not doing very well. See how beautiful, no, Swami? You give the letter and Swami looks up. And the car chair is going inside. So I had no choice. I went back to the room. My mother was, by then, not very well. Her health was not very good. Very quickly she was falling. At about 7:30, I had received a call. Not a call, sorry. A Seva Dal had come home. He said, Shravanam, yes, Bhagwan is calling. And they took me straight into Yajur Mandir. When I went into Yajur Mandir, the first thing Bhagwan asked me was, why do you drive so fast? Yedikku ivlo fast car otra? What had happened was, Amma was in the back seat, lying down on my father's lap, and I was driving not to miss the darshan. I had kept the rear view glass facing my mother because I could see my mother. Because I was very concerned, Amma keda, I don't. So I was looking at that rear view glass. And then Swami said, your glass is facing your mother and you're not looking into the road and you're driving so fast. What if something happens to all of you? That was the first thing Bhagwan asked me. We all want to go and report to Bhagwan, take your mother there, take his concern. Well, Swami knows everything. And despite Swami telling us so many times, we still go run behind him. Isn't it? And I'm lately realizing that. Swami said, you and your father didn't eat from morning. Onnu saapadla. Swami said, you didn't eat anything. And Swami told me, you had food last night. Innik fulla saapadla. Appa, onnu saapadla, netiki rendu chapati. Swami told very clearly. And the previous night, I remember my father had just those 2 chapati. And Swami said, both of you don't eat. Swami said, saapad anpare, go eat. Karunamai, so much love from Bhagwan, carrier of food from Yajurmandir. Swami wanted us to have food. Amma was taken to the hospital. Next day morning, Swami said, and Swami gave clear instructions, you don't go, you be in the room, come for next day's bhajan and I will talk to you. So Amma was taken to the hospital. Next day morning for bhajans I went. Swami said, onnu illa, chinna problem da, ella seriya poidum, amma vayishin veetukku va. But amma vayishin veetukku va. I didn't understand what that veedu was. So I said, Swami enga? Swami veetukku va. Again I asked Swami enna Swami? Swami didn't reply anything. He moved his chair. He gave instructions to somebody and that person came to me. He said, Swami said, Veeduna Yajurmandir, come home. Swami is inviting you home. Then Swami looked at me and said, Swami, amma va karla ishin va ambulance venda. So I went to the hospital, picked up my mother in the car, came to Yajurmandir. Bhagwan spoke to us. Very lovingly he spoke. He spoke about my marriage. He blessed me for my marriage. He blessed my mother. Then my mother said, Swami, if something happens to me, who will take care of them? Swami touched my mother's head and he said, Swami irke ellariyum paathupe. Swami told. And moments, just, Swami convinced me it was a very small problem. Swami said, onnulla, chinna checkup. We went to Whitefield Hospital, they did a scan and they said, no, it's a very big tumor, you have to operate. Swami told me, no operation, go. Doctors are telling me, operation. What would you do? I have direct instructions saying, no operation. Doctors say, operation. Again I drove back from the hospital, rushed to Bhagwan. By then, main doors were closed. Darshan hall doors were closed. I was not allowed to go into Kulwant hall. Swami had by then already come for darshan. Probably Swami arranged. Shivaraj Patil ji, he was just coming as a VIP and they opened the door for him. I walked along with the convoy and I entered the hall. Bhagwan Swami, he called me. He said, why did you come? I said, Swami, they are saying operation. Swami, you said no operation. Swami said, illa, small operation. Swami pandre. He said, I will do. Swami said, I will hold your mother in the right hand and I will operate your mother in the left hand. These are all straight words of Bhagwan. I said, the moment Swami convinced me that, I was okay. Because if Swami says, I'm okay. Swami doesn't say anything, I was not okay. Operation happened. It was found out that it was 4th grade cancer. And chances of survival was very lean. And this was on the 19th of January. My mother was still in the ICU. My marriage was fixed for February 8th. We had no time, no preparations. We couldn't prepare anything. Bhagwan, out of all his love, used to call me, give me instructions, do this, do that. I will come for the marriage. Swami blessed me, convinced me. I got married. I went to Bhagwan for blessings after marriage. My mother was in Chennai. I left my mother at home, myself and my wife and my sister. We all went to Puttaparthi for blessings. Because Swami said, you come after marriage, come here. 10 days Swami never looked at me. I was just newly wed. Swami never looked at me. No, you can't go near Swami. No matter what, Swami would avoid me. There started my test. Until marriage, so much love, so much was given. And then, about 10 days later, Swami sent someone home inside the ashram and with a pack of vibhuti saying, Swami wants you to leave tomorrow back to Chennai and only upon Swami's instruction come here. That's all. I took the vibhutis. I started driving back early in the morning. And Swami said, leave at 3:30 a.m. That was the instruction. So 3:30 a.m. I left. And as I was coming back to Chennai, call from Yajur Mandir, one of the persons who was taking care of Bhagwan, called up and said, Bhagwan didn't see you for 10 days because you have left your mother and come. Swami doesn't want you to leave your mother and come no matter what. Take care of your mother and Swami will come in search of you. I took the instruction, came home. So many moments of omnipresence. Shivaratri day, I was in Sundaram for Bhajans. My mother was at home. I came back after Sundaram Bhajans. My mother says, hey, Swami is just leaving. I said, Swami, engyo polama. And it was brain operation, brain cancer. So I naturally thought she was hallucinating. She said, no, Swami is just leaving. He's in a yellow robe. I didn't understand what it was. I had left it to rest. In the evening, my father called up. He said, Swami asked where you were in the morning. Immediately, I picked up something. I rushed to Puttaparthi and Swami, first thing he saw was, why did you leave your mother and go to Bhajans? Ammava vuttittu edukku Bhajans pona? Why did you leave your mother? And Swami said, I came to your house, sat right next to your mother, took care of her until you were there in the Bhajans. That is the love of Bhagwan. That is the way he thrusts you to understand that you have to take care of your parents and you also have to take care of all your duties. Many moments like this happened of omnipresence. Years passed. A year from then, mother had passed away. Swami told me cancer cancelled. Swami told me she will be all right. I will come home and have food. Now you all can ask me a question. When Swami told all this, why did your mother pass away? I could have had so many questions inside me. But that is where you all don't realize how much Swami takes the pain, the strain, all the trauma that I as Shravanam would have undergone if Swami didn't give me those promises, kept patting me on my back, made me work in my studio all through the years of difficulty when my mother was at home. Endless service from doctors who used to come selflessly. Why did they come? Who is there in the middle? Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Today I realized the studio was there right above my house only because Swami wanted me to take care of my mother. So at the beck and call of my mother, I could come down and take care of her. And after my mother had passed away, Swami in Kodaikanal, he acknowledged me saying, I am there, I will be there to take care of you. Don't worry, your mother is with me. And Swami also told me, daily she cooks for me and I eat. That made me completely convinced. What is the takeaway of this whole story? Is it an experience of a family? Is it about, we have heard about so many miracles where Swami can make someone walk. Swami has resurrected Walter Cowan. But I think to myself, how much love, compassion and proximity Swami gave me because of my mother. How much could I understand Bhagwan that he was omnipresent? How much could I realize that Bhagwan, when you surrender to him, is there even before you realize that you want him? He didn't allow me to pray. He would come and take care of all of us. In this process, my studio kept running. My mother's journey went on. She passed on. Then I had to take over my studio. Recordings kept coming. Projects kept going on. Beautiful Prema Pravaham happened. Sai Symphony happened. Beautiful moments. And then when I look back, you realize there are so many of us who are bestowed with love of Bhagwan, but how much do we give it back to him? What is it that we do back for Bhagwan? What has he wanted from all of us? The only thing Swami wants from all of us is our own happiness. Many a times we say, you should keep Swami happy. Swami doesn't need to be kept happy. Did you ever realize that? Why should we keep Swami happy? Swami is always happiness. He bestows happiness on us. But are we going to be happy all our life? Whatever be the trials that come, whatever be the difficulties that come, are we going to uphold Swami's principle? I will tell you, when I used to travel abroad for music programs, what has Balvikas taught me? I was once in Egypt. I was invited by the consulate in Egypt for a very big River of Nile festival. So I was there. I was walking in Egyptian market. There was a mosque, and the moment prayer started, all of them freezed on the road and everybody went around praying. I was the only odd one out. I was not kneeling down. I was not praying. That moment I thought to myself, let me do whatever the next person does, because Sarva Dharma, that's all. There's a prayer, let's pray. I kept my bag aside. I was just eyeing the other person next to me, bend down, pray, get up, touch my head. I used to just be like a mirror to the person next to me. The moment I finished that, I got up. A person next to me came, hugged me and said Sairam in Egypt. Even now when I think, I have goosebumps. He just said Sairam. I didn't do it out of my love for a prayer that I heard. I just thought, being with Swami, being in Balvikas, let's just do this. Because there were 100, 150 people, I would be just standing as a traveler. So I bent up. That's when you realize that how Swami can communicate to anyone, and say, the person who told Sairam could have also been Bhagwan himself. Never take them as a person. Same thing happened in Skopje. It's in a place called Macedonia. I went into a church, very beautiful old church. I left my slippers outside. It was very cold, probably below zero. But I left my slipper outside and I went into the church. The pastor saw me and he said, please wear your footwear. It's very cold. You can't come bare feet. I thought to myself, if it was Kulwant Hall, I wouldn't be wearing slippers. So it's a church. Why would I wear? I said, I'll quickly pray and I'll go. He came back. He said, why did you not wear slippers? So I told him, no, this is a place of worship. In India, we never wear slippers because it carries a lot of dirt from outside. A place of worship has to be clean. It's a very simple, normal explanation. I didn't give any philosophical explanation. I said, you could just come and take the energy from the church. He said, nice. He patted me on the back. The next day, I go back to the church. There's this big board that says, leave your footwear outside. Swami can do anything, anywhere, anytime. And you realize that in my journey, in music, when I look back, is there any single thing I can own to myself? Did I learn something for me to get something back? I stopped applying for awards or even go and ask people. I don't do that because I'm very scared. Don't know what Swami will hammer you with. And in the studio, Swami clearly told me, you do your duty well. Swami said, duty, devotion, discipline. Swami said, do your duty well, do it with the devotion and maintain discipline. Swami said, I will take care of the rest. So today, I just look back at whatever comes to me. I have to not own anything. The moment I own it, I know Swami will take it back. The moment I know Swami will take it back. And the path in music, the path that you take in your profession, be it computer science or be it you're a very big chairman in a big concern or you're a humble musician, there's only one thing we need to follow. Just be committed and devoted to whatever you do. And when you do that, all you know is God follows you. Bhagwan takes care of you. Even in your own life, whether it is your family, whether it is your health, I've seen a lot in my family. Karma is something that we think can be changed. Yes, Bhagwan can change karma. But the day you go and pray to Bhagwan saying, you change my karma, the change never happens. The day you say, Swami, I accept my karma, he can change your karma. He can change anything in your life. He can change, the next moment can be changed. Once in Yajur Mandir, I was trying to give a letter to Bhagwan for very many number of days. Bhagwan would not pick up the letter. And one day I decided not to take the letter. Swami said, bring the letter. Again I took the letter. Swami opened it and kept it upside down and was reading. I was thinking to myself, what is Swami reading? You know, human mind. Swami was keeping it upside down. Then Swami told me, I know everything the moment you write your letter. Swami said, the moment the thought comes on what you have to write, that thought also Bhagwan knows. Swami also told very clearly, even a small ant is taken care by Bhagwan. And then Swami said, knowing Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba is not easy. These are all Swami's direct words to me. Swami said, when you are with me, I will test you. And you have to pass all the tests. Swami said, there are so many people who don't know Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Swami said, they are taken care. But I come here as an avatar to take care of you, because only when I am there can you pass all these tests. Only when you hold on to me are you able to cross these tests. So I stopped telling people that we are all very blessed devotees of Bhagwan. You can never say that. Many of us say, you know, he's a very nice devotee. How can we say someone is a devotee? Only God knows whether they are a devotee or not. You can never go and say I am a Sai devotee. Only Swami will know whether we are a devotee. How can you say I am a devotee? So, the last thing I would like to say is knowing Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba as an avatar. Shirdi Sai avatar was there. Sathya Sai Baba was there. We have pictures of Bhagwan. We have pictures, videos of Bhagwan. Swami has also said Prem Sai will come. Many people ask me, are you going to wait for the next avatar? I tell people, understanding one avatar, I don't think 100 janmas are enough. One statement of Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba, if we can follow, help ever, hurt never. That, can we honestly follow it? Love all, serve all. Forget about years of discourses of Bhagwan. 70 years of discourses, endless discourses, beautiful organization Swami has given, beautiful Sundaram, beautiful Kulwant Hall. Do you think Swami made it for him? No. For his devotees to come and sit and enjoy, for his devotees to do bhajans, for all of us in Chennai to go to Sundaram and enjoy the space. No point in being in conflict. Organization is for us, not for Bhagwan. Bhagwan doesn't want organization. Because there is an organization, we have a role to play, we go and do a duty there is a satsang like this, you remember him. Now I'm speaking of him, the next 10 days I'll be recharged. I'll be thinking of all this. Probably I need it because I don't know what's there in the next 10 days for me. Always be aware, always be cautious. Always know that Bhagwan is watching you. And you must know one thing. Never search for God. This is the biggest lesson I learned. Never search. Just know that He is there. Right now He is there with us. Right now He is listening to us. Know that He is with you, living in you. Many a times I fail. Many a times I fail. Don't think I'm a prophet here giving prophecy. No. I'm telling this because I want this to get into me more and more so that someday I am a very honest, truthful, simple devotee of Bhagwan, a son of Bhagwan that He wants. Swami, I pray to you with all my heart. Please guide me. Please guide all of us. Please keep us all with you. There are moments we forget you. There are moments we get carried away with so many worldly things. But Bhagwan, but for you as a mother who has come and hooked me on, who has taken my life into your hands. Sometimes when I think I do, you make me realize you do. Swami, keep blessing all of us. Help us understand who you are as an avatar. And the only prayer we have for you is, we will promise you to be happy devotees of you. Jai Sairam.
Thank you very much, Sai Shravanam, for that lovely discourse. I think one session is not enough. We might have more sessions for all his experiences to be heard. Maybe whenever as Swami permits, we can have, as a small gesture of love and affection. A small memento. I request Sri C.V. Shankar to present you. Thank you very much for your lovely talk. Now we'll have the Subramanyam song and then Brahmarpanam and then Aarti. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you very much.
Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Chanmuganatha, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Ajinatha, Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Chanmuganatha, Subramanyam. Shiva, 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 Subramanyam, Hara, 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 Subramanyam. Shiva Shiva Hara Hara Subramanyam Hara Hara Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Hara Hara Subramanyam Hara Hara Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Hara Subramanyam Hara Shiva Shiva Subramanyam 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 Chanmuganatha Subramanyam 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 Chanmuganatha Subramanyam Subramanyam Subram Chanmuganatha Subramanyam.
Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Kantavyam Brahma karma samadhina aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam dehamashritah pranapana samayuktah pachamyannam chaturvidam. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Sathya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrakshaka Bhakta Jana Samrakshaka Bharti Maheshwara Om Jai Jagadish Hare Satyavadana Srikara Sarva Pranapati Swami Sarva Pranapati Ashrita Kalpaladita Ashrita Kalpaladita Abad Bandhava Om Jai Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Gurudeva Mumariyan Dayumire Swami Mariyan Dayumire Naga Brahma Jagannatha Naga Brahma Jagannatha Nagendra Jayana Om Jai Jagadish Hare Okara Rupa Vajasvi Sai Mahadeva Satya Sai Mahadeva Mangala Arati Anduku Mangala Arati Anduku Mangala Gitari Om Jai Jagadish Hare Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ओम शांति शांति शांति
जय बोलो श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की